that's not originally to me. Okay, I heard someone say, I can't remember who it was, that the bigger a vision is, the farther away you are from it when you can see it. But that doesn't necessarily mean you see it in detail. So if a mountain's big enough, you can see it from miles away. It's not till you get close enough to it that you actually start to see the details of it. So Lord first said world overcomers to me, I was 24 years old. But where it was going to be and the details of it weren't as clear. I wrote a bunch of details down of what I thought it was going to be, but I didn't know it was going to be in North Carolina. So once it became a North Carolina church, when the Lord clearly showed me that North Carolina was where he wanted me to be, then there was going to be some things that were going to be different about it, that was different. When I first wrote down the vision, I was living in the inner city. So there were some things in it that were different, but that's a part of the nature of walking according to vision. The thing I will say that's me, this is not anyone else, this is my revelation, is in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, Paul says, for we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when that which is perfect is come, even the imperfect will be done away with. I don't think we talk about that a lot. I think we focus a lot on the love chapter and we don't talk a lot about this word that Paul is saying. He's basically saying that our knowledge is imperfect. I think for anybody that goes to church, anyone that's watching your web series, anybody that's looking at me, reads any of my books, they understand that what I know is in part. I know in part. So even with all my education, what my parents taught me, there's still something that I don't know. So I got to seek the face of God and I got to get a word from him. I got to get in his presence. I got to bless the Lord. I got to hear his voice because my knowledge is partial. Okay. My knowledge is imperfect. But then what we miss is Paul says, for we know in part and we prophesy in part, meaning that prophecy is imperfect. That us being in the room and worshiping the Lord is imperfect. What we hear from God is imperfect. What we glean from the Bible is imperfect. Anyone that shares any biblical truth as if it's an absolute has never read 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and really seen it for what it means. In essence, what happens is I prophesy to a certain point and then I gain knowledge there. And the knowledge that I gain impacts the prophecy that I have. And the prophecy that I have impacts the knowledge that I gain. That knowledge and prophecy are dependent on one another. So that if I get a prophetic word, when I take a step to it, I gain more clarity. And that knowledge and that clarity affects the prophecy. And I then need to be able to then prophesy from that place and not always prophesy from the place where I was. So when the Lord first said world overcomers to me, I was in Boston. But now knowledge has led me to being in the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina. Now I have to prophesy from this place. I can't go back to Boston and prophesy from that place. I have to prophesy from this knowledge that I've gained. And sometimes people treat knowledge as if it's imperfect and prophecy as if it's perfect, but it's not. Paul said they're both imperfect, so they're dependent on one another. And so what World Overcomers is and what it shall be has not yet been made known. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Paul is saying, when that which is perfect is come, all of the imperfection will be done away with. And when I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put this childish expectation of perfection behind me. For now we see but through a poor glass dimly, then we shall see face to face. So it's now I know in part, then I know shall know fully, even as I am fully known. So it's the idea is that I don't know now what I'm going to know with more clarity.